Hey guys, I'm back for another quick one for Daniel chapter 4. So, Daniel chapter 4 brings Nebuchadnezzar to his final, uh, I guess you could say, humbling session that he's going to receive. Because in this dream, so Nebuchadnezzar is going to have a second dream. But in the second dream, we get the vision of a tree and how this tree reaches up to the highest of heavens, but yet God humbles him. One key thought that I just thought of a couple of minutes ago was, isn't it interesting another comparison between uh, the Tower of Babel, how God humbles the people by scattering them across the face of the earth and confusing their languages? Well, what does God do to Nebuchadnezzar? Well, in the interpretation of the dream, it talks about this tree goes up, trees cut down, the animals and all these people that are of creation have to go find another place. Nebuchadnezzar has to go amongst the wild. His kingdom is humbled. His kingdom is virtually chopped down, to where, well, I'd say his kingdom, more than anything, his kingdom and his authoritative rule that God had given him was now brought to a close, at least for 7 years, because then he would go through a time of mental illness, which correlates well with the confusion of the Tower of Babel. So I thought that was very interesting to me. Uh, the other part that is like the key portion of this passage is the pride that he has. One of the verses that I thought was really interesting, two examples of his pride, was number one, the very first verse, where it says that he sent words. Actually, this is verse 2 of chapter. Sorry, I'm on the wrong chapter. Chapter 4, and beginning in verse 6. So he issued a decree to bring all the wise men of Babylon to me in order that they might make the dream's interpretation known to me. Come on, dude. Like, that's the thing that's so crazy to me is like he saw God's power, um, like, and even just in minor situations, the king's food situation, um, the dream that Daniel is able to depict in the first one, the third one being Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego's miraculous deliverance. Then he has the audacity to go back to consulting other worldly options of these other wise men, which, I mean, let's just face it, that is the human spirit, right? That even if God were to reveal himself to us in certain ways, we choose to reject him time and time again. And that's Nebuchadnezzar. He kind of goes, all right, yeah, you did this, but I'm really not going to give it over. It's like he sees it, but he's not willing to submit until God puts him on his face. Very similar to the Exodus, because you remember the Exodus, the Pharaoh at the time of Moses was humbled, humbled, humbled time and time again until gets to the very part of the Passover, and he is really, really humbled. Difference is Nebuchadnezzar is able to have authority after he goes through his time of a 7-year exile from his kingdom. So, and it's showing that God is in control. That once again, God is sovereign over uh, revealing to Daniel this dream. The other interesting part of this is you got Daniel's account of his third person account of what happened to Nebuchadnezzar, but then there's two sections in here where Nebuchadnezzar gives his perspective from a very lost person, and but then also what's really interesting, just to highlight his pride even more, he says in verse 30 of chapter 4, "Is this not Babylon the Great that I built by my vast power to be a royal residence and display my majesty and glory?" And he's on top of a roof. And it's like, look at all that I've done. And I'm reminded of when Jesus is shown all the kingdoms of the world, and Satan tries to tempt him into pride of like, hey, look at all these kingdoms. You could have all of this if you fall down and worship me. And Jesus is like, no, I'm not doing that. And he combats him with scripture. Um, Jesus is the antithesis of, or the opposite. He is the one that humbled himself and is exalted. the Babylonians, but Nebuchadnezzar mainly exalts himself, but is humbled, and then God is able to exalt him. And the question we're left at the end is kind of this open question: did Nebuchadnezzar come to saving knowledge of God? We don't know. We know that he repented. We know that Nebuchadnezzar brings praise to God in a very interesting way. He says that he's the king of heaven because all his works are true and his ways are just. He's able to humble those who walk in pride. Wouldn't that be such a surprise to know that we get to heaven and Nebuchadnezzar's there and he's like, yeah, God humbled me. And I think for all of us, we can fall into that picture of God's humbled us, and that God's also still humbling a lot of our students. So let those be some thoughts you think through for your small groups this week for Daniel chapter 4.